had always tried to keep things professional at the office, but some people think respect is optional. Daniel was one of those people. Tall, cocky, and with a grin that could make anyone underestimate his sense of boundaries, he walked around as if the office was his personal kingdom. And apparently I was a problem in his kingdom. It started on a Monday morning. I was at my desk sipping coffee and reviewing the quarterly numbers when I felt it. A shadow looming over my cubicle. "Hey," Daniel said, leaning against my desk with that smug smirk. "You know, some of us don't need to work like a hamster on a wheel. Some of us get respect just naturally." I looked up at him calmly, raising an eyebrow. "Respect? From you?" He laughed, a low, confident chuckle. "Yeah, I mean, come on. Everyone here knows I run things. Maybe you should." He paused, letting the words hang. "Learn your place." I stared at him, unblinking. I could feel the tension rise, the kind that makes your hands tighten around the pen. Daniel was trying to intimidate me, to assert himself as the alpha. I had dealt with people like him before, but something about his confidence made him dangerous, especially when it involved my wife, Claire. Because Daniel wasn't just any coworker. He had a reputation for flirting, for getting close to married women, for testing boundaries with reckless arrogance. And I had seen him glance at Claire during the company Christmas party last year, that smirk forming the second she laughed at a joke I hadn't even heard. I decided then, I wasn't going to play his game. I wasn't going to rise, yell, or let his arrogance intimidate me. But I also wasn't going to wait. Later that afternoon, Daniel cornered me by the printer. "You know," he said casually, "I'm just saying people like me get noticed. Maybe you should." Before he could finish, I reached into my pocket, pulled out my phone and opened a photo. One photo. One picture of Daniel with Claire, taken innocently at a work event. But his expression in it said everything. Smiling too closely, too familiar, with a hand where it shouldn't have been. I held it up casually. "Recognize this?" I asked softly. Daniel froze. His smug grin vanished, replaced by something tight, controlled. I didn't need to say more. That single image had done what months of confrontation never could. Daniel's eyes flicked between the photo in my hand and mine, searching for some kind of escape, some way to twist the situation back in his favor. But there was none. That one image had exposed everything he was too proud, or too foolish, to admit. You think this matters?" he stammered, attempting to mask panic with bravado. "It's nothing. Just a joke, a moment." I cut him off with a slow shake of my head. "A joke? Daniel, that's your idea of a joke? Close enough to cross a line, close enough for my wife to be comfortable, close enough for me to notice. It isn't a joke. It's reality." He swallowed hard, his face tightening, his alpha persona crumbling under the weight of the truth. I saw the change in him instantly. Confidence replaced with fear, arrogance replaced with calculation. And that was the exact moment I realized that sometimes, one subtle move can dismantle an entire empire of arrogance. I put the phone back in my pocket and stepped closer, maintaining calm but deliberate eye contact. "I suggest you keep your hands to yourself. Keep your eyes to yourself. And most importantly, keep your ego out of my life." Daniel nodded, a tight, unwilling nod, muttering something about misunderstanding. I didn't respond. I let the tension hang in the air, heavy and suffocating, like the quiet before a storm. Later, when I told Claire what had happened, she laughed quietly at first. "You finally shut him down?" she asked, her voice half amused, half relieved. I nodded. "Yeah," I said. "One photo. That was all it took." She shook her head, a smile tugging at her lips. "I should have known you'd handle him like that. Always calm, always precise. Honestly, it's kind of impressive." I shrugged, but inside I felt something shift. It wasn't just about Daniel anymore, it was about boundaries. About the subtle games people play, thinking they can manipulate others or act without consequences. Claire's presence reminded me why this mattered so much. Our marriage, our trust, wasn't something anyone should ever think to challenge. And Daniel learned that the hard way. The alpha act, the posturing, the mock intimidation. It all dissolved the moment reality hit. One photo, one undeniable truth. And for the first time in weeks, I felt a calm satisfaction. Not out of revenge, but out of restored balance. But the story didn't end there. There were whispers, looks exchanged in the office, questions I didn't answer, rumors I didn't fuel. And that subtle power shift. It wasn't over. The next few days at the office were different. Daniel didn't approach me. He avoided eye contact in meetings, hesitated to pass by my desk, and his smug comments evaporated into silence. The alpha act was gone, replaced by a cautious, calculated version of himself that wasn't nearly as intimidating. But the subtlety of it fascinated me. He still tried to maintain a semblance of normalcy, like nothing had happened, but everyone could sense the shift. Even our coworkers who had always tolerated his arrogance, now glanced at him differently. He had lost his unchallenged dominance, and I had never lifted a finger in aggression. Claire and I, on the other hand, felt stronger. That single moment, one image revealing the truth, reminded us why trust, boundaries, and honesty mattered more than posturing or games. She smiled more freely at me in the office, a quiet acknowledgement that I had her back without needing drama, without confrontation in front of everyone. Daniel eventually tried to make small talk, awkwardly, as if trying to reclaim some dignity. I listened politely, responded calmly, and made sure every word reinforced the truth he already knew. There was no power over me here. Not at my desk, not at my home, not anywhere. The beauty of it was simple. No shouting, no threats, no humiliation. Just facts, subtle but undeniable. A single photo had spoken louder than all his bluster. And in that quiet power I realized something essential about human behavior. Arrogance thrives on ignorance. Once exposed to clarity, it crumbles on its own. Claire and I laughed quietly that evening, recounting the scene at home. She leaned against me, whispering, "You didn't even yell. You just handled it." "Sometimes," I said, "the strongest move isn't fighting. It's letting reality speak for itself." And Daniel? Well, he learned his lesson in silence, under the weight of a truth he couldn't deny. He stopped trying to alpha anyone in the office, stopped testing boundaries, and avoided both me and Claire whenever possible. I realized then that boundaries, once respected, build more trust than any confrontation ever could. And the moment I saw the shift in him, I knew that subtle, calm action often carries the most weight, far more than anger or spectacle ever could. In the end, a single photo didn't just shut him down. It preserved respect, reinforced loyalty, and proved that confidence without integrity is always temporary. And for me, that was the only victory that truly mattered.